Hello there, Scott Telek, author of the Swithin, the Arthurian book series that stays completely faithful to the actual medieval legend of King Arthur. And we're continuing our reading of Sir Thomas Malory's Morte d'Arthur. And in this video we get Arthur's very first battle and some cool magic. So let's go! Then King Arthur came out of his tower, and he had under his gown a jesseraude of double mail. And there went with him the Archbishop of Canterbury, and Sir Bodwin, and Sir Kay, and Sir Brastias. These were the men of most worship that were with him, and when they were met, there was no meekness, but stout words on both sides. But always King Arthur answered them, and said he would make them bow, and he lived. Wherefore they departed with wrath. King Arthur bade keep them well, and they bade the king keep him well. So the king returned to the tower again, and armed him and all his knights. What will you do? Said Merlin to the kings. You were better to stint, for you will not prevail, though you were 10 so many. Be we well advised to be afraid of a dream reader? Said King Lot. With that, Merlin vanished away and came to King Arthur, and bade him set on them fiercely. And in the meanwhile there were 300 good men of the best that were with the kings that went straight unto King Arthur, and that comforted him greatly. So Arthur goes out to them, and there are stout words on both sides, which means that they give each other a lot of bluster. But Arthur doesn't back down, and he says he will make them bow and they live, which means you'll eventually bow to me. Pretty good for a teenager, right? So Arthur goes back to the tower, and Merlin comes to the kings and says, what are you doing? You know you're going to lose. And King Lot says, what? We're supposed to be afraid of the words of a dream reader? Which is Merlin. So Merlin vanishes. This is the first time we hear of Merlin vanishing, and comes to Arthur's side and tells him to set on them fiercely. Sir, said Merlin to Arthur, fight not with the sword you had by miracle until you see you go unto the worse. Then draw it out and do your best. So forthwithal King Arthur set upon them in their lodging, and Sir Bodwin, Sir Kay, and Sir Brastias slew on the right hand and on the left hand, that it was a marvel. And always King Arthur on horseback laid on with sword, and did marvellous deeds of arms, that many of the kings had great joy of his deeds and hardiness. Then King Lot broke out on the backside, and the king with the 100 knights, and King Carados, and set on Arthur fiercely behind him. With that Sir Arthur turned with his knights, and smote behind and before, and ever Sir Arthur was in the foremost press until his horse was slain underneath him, and therewith King Lot smote down King Arthur. With that his 4 knights rescued him, and put him on horseback. Then he drew his sword Excalibur, but it was so bright in his enemies' eyes that it gave light like 30 torches, and therewith he put them on back, and slew much people. And then the commons of Caerleon arose with clubs and staves, and slew many knights. But all the kings held them together with their knights that were left alive, and so fled and departed. And Merlin came unto Arthur and counselled him to follow them no further. Okay, I have another video called How to Read Morte d'Arthur, and one of the most important pieces of advice there is you just have to slow down and take time to think about what's going on. Because major stuff goes by so fast, and you have to slow down for it to have any impact. And that's really the case here. So first, Merlin tells Arthur not to fight with the sword he had by miracle. That means the sword from the stone. But to wait until the battle is going poorly and then pull it out. First we have a lot of battle, and you'll notice King Lot and Arthur confront each other directly on the field. Arthur's horse is slain beneath him. That is, he's on his horse, but it got killed right under him. And King Lot smote him down, which is the past form of smite, like you might hear he wanted to smite his enemy or something. Well, being smote down is kind of the same thing. It means getting knocked on your ass. So King Lot smites Arthur, and Arthur's in danger. But 4 of Arthur's knights take him and pull him away and put him back on horseback. Now we have the first major incident of Merlin's awesome magic. Once on horseback, Arthur draws the sword he got from the stone and holds it overhead. It blazes so brightly in his enemies' eyes that it blinds them, and Arthur's men are able to cut them down easily. I think that's pretty awesome, and it's an iconic image with Arthur holding the blazing sword over his head. In the Vulgate cycle, Merlin sets the enemy's tents on fire, so I'm not sure if this thing with the blazing sword is Malory's invention, but it might be. Now you might also notice that the text refers to the sword as Excalibur, but Arthur actually hasn't received Excalibur yet. The sword from the stone is not Excalibur. So that's just one of the little mistakes that are still present in the text. The last important thing that happens is that the commons of Caerleon come out with clubs and staves. This means that the common people, not knights, but the peasants and the workers, throw themselves into battle carrying clubs and wooden poles in order to help Arthur. So again, we have a strong statement that although the rulers of the day may oppose Arthur, the common people are totally behind him. And even though they would normally not fight a battle, in this case they're throwing themselves in to support the young king. You'll also notice Merlin comes and tells Arthur when it's time to end the battle, which is not the last time this will happen. Okay, that's it for now. We'll see you for chapter 10.